fleeing, I got up to greet the strangers. Several bearded men wearing camo stepped out of the vehicle. They carried their guns nonchalantly in their hands or slung across their backs. One of them surveyed our campsite. "We just need something to eat," he said. "But is it deer season?" I asked. "No." I fought down a thread of panic. "I've camped out," I said, "for 60 years now." "Not much left then, is there?" The sun rose at its appointed hour over the far rim in the east. Bundled against the cold, I put a pot of water on our 2-burner stove to heat for coffee. Slowly, the pallor of the nightmare dissolved, but I didn't tell Sharon about the visitation in the night until the next day. To echo Macaulay, every schoolboy knows about the journey across the continent launched by Lewis and Clark in 1804, as the Corps of Discovery fulfilled Thomas Jefferson's mandate to learn just what kind of territory the United States had bought from France the preceding year. 28 years before Lewis and Clark set out from St. Louis, a pair of Franciscan priests led a much smaller cadre of men on a monumental exploration through some of the most spectacular and difficult terrain in the future United States, in the process actually discovering more land unknown to non-natives than Lewis and Clark did. Yet not even Macaulay's brightest pupil today has more than the haziest grasp of the extraordinary journey led by Dominguez-Escalante in 1776. The journals kept by Lewis and Clark are disjointed, preoccupied with minutiae, and myopic about the shape of the great voyage, and Clark's command of spelling, grammar, and punctuation is so shaky that his passages often verge on the illiterate. America's most famous expedition of discovery is best absorbed today via such excellent second-hand narratives as Bernard DeVoto's The Course of Empire or Stephen Ambrose's Undaunted Courage. But Escalante's journal, coherent, succinct, yet full of curious asides and observations, is far more readable than any of the several commentaries about the Spaniard's journey written by latter-day historians. In the words of Devoto, the journal is a poem, dramatized against the backdrop of the rock deserts. The expedition itself, despite its harrowing tribulations and a life-or-death denouement, seemed to Devoto a sunnily stupendous journey. What's more, the team's cartographer, Bernardo Miera y Pacheco, drew an extraordinary map that is an artistic masterpiece in its own right. It remained the best chart of the greater Southwest until the middle of the 19th century. In 1951, Herbert E. Bolton became the first historian to engage Dominguez and Escalante at book length. About the Padres as explorers, he wrote, "For the opening of new vistas, they belong with Coronado and the splendid wayfarers of Mexico and South America. For their relations with the strange peoples encountered, they stand in a class almost by themselves." No book yet written about the Dominguez-Escalante journey has gone beyond a paraphrase of the journal and a summary of the expedition's results. My intention in Escalante's Dream is to cross-examine the Padre's account at every turn, to wonder what was going on whenever the explorers made a strange decision or engaged in a puzzling interaction with Native Americans met along the way, and to dig below the surface of the conflicts among and characters of the 12 men on the team. And as Sharon and I retrace the 1776 journey through 40 days in the fall of 2017, I intend to treat our own adventure as a parallel expedition 241 years later, a road trip through a world Dominguez and Escalante could never have foreseen. Silvestre Velez de Escalante was born in 1749 in Cantabria, a green, hilly province in northern Spain. He was a montañés, a Highlander, and had he stayed in his native land, he might well have whiled away his years as a shepherd or a farmer. We know very little about the man's early life, but by the late 1760s he had arrived in Mexico City. There, at only 18, he became a friar in the order of St. Francis of Assisi. From 1598 onward, it had been Franciscans who took